Hey, good morning. So good to be with everybody, and I just love that little time of gathering and getting to see your faces. I realize how remarkable it is to see 100 people without masks on and be able to instantly recognize you. Everybody wearing their name tag down there in the bottom left-hand corner, which is wonderful, makes it real easy for even those of us with bad memories. So Happy New Year and welcome again to our live service here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation Santa Rosa. A few unfamiliar names on every service, which is great. It means people are still visiting us and checking us out, and we're glad you do. Glad you found us. Hope that what we're doing here is tiding you over until the day we get to all be back together again. We are a progressive and inclusive spiritual community dedicated to celebrating life, empowering people, caring for one another, and helping to build a better world. We treasure diversity of viewpoints and backgrounds and expressions of humanity. So you know already you have a place here, and we hope you'll find a permanent spiritual home among us. Just a couple of quick announcements before we begin. You may have seen, if you're on the focus list, our member chat list, email list, that we're about to execute our carpet replacement plan, which goes all the way into the office and is going to require a few volunteers over the course of January for the moving of large objects. So if you'd like to get out of the house and have the ability and willingness to move some large objects and push things along, be sure to give Kenyatta Jackson, our administrative manager, a call. She'll be back in the office on Monday. And we are on the verge of fixing and upgrading our internet and Wi-Fi system here as well, trying to take the most advantage of not having anybody in the building, as sad as that is. And so it should be next week that I'll be able to be back in the sanctuary and leading worship from there, which feels so good. I think that's everything for the moment. We're gonna normally, over the last few years at this service, the Milestones service, under the guidance of Sharon McCarty, who brought such a beautiful high church sensibility to worship, we would have a grand entrance to mark the opening of a new year, and carry in the chalice and carry in the bell and carry in our hopes and dreams. And we weren't able to do that this year for obvious reasons, but we will celebrate this space that we call our home and acknowledge the new year as we begin our worship with Old Lang Syne.
Reverend Chris will now light the chalice, and I will read the opening words. On the Brink of a New Year by Lois Van Leer. We light this chalice on the brink of a new year, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come, renewed, restored, ready to live life fully anew. May we move forward with intention.
The ceaseless flow of endless time, no one can check or stay. We're the past with no regret, nor future with dismay. The present slips into the past, and a dream like melts away. The breaking of tomorrow's dawn begins anew today. The past and future ever meet in the eternal love, to make each day a thing complete shall be our New Year vow.
We had to sing the ceaseless flow of endless time because it's the only Sunday of the year that we get to sing about our New Year vow. And it's also a good day to do this reading from the Reverend Kathleen McTigue. It's from our hymnal. I'll read everything, but if you want to have that feeling of doing a responsive reading, as we love to do when we worship in person, you might read that portion in the bold. The 1st of January is another day dawning, the sun rising as the sun always rises, the earth moving in its rhythms. With or without our calendars to name a certain day as the day of new beginning, separating the old from the new. So it is. Everything is the same, bound into its history as we ourselves are bound. Yet we also stand at a threshold, the new year something truly new, still unformed, leaving a stunning power in our hands. What shall we do with this great gift of time this year? Let us begin by remembering that whatever justice, whatever peace and wholeness might bloom in our world this year, we are the hearts and minds, the hands and feet, the embodiment of all the best visions of our people. The new year can be new ground for the seeds of our dreams. Let us take the step forward together onto new ground, planting our dreams well, faithfully, and in joy.
One each person is worthwhile, to be kind in all you do. 3 let's help each other grow, for keep searching for the true. 5 each person has a say, 6 worth for a peaceful world. 7 will level us away, that will bring us back to you, 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 you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Time for All Ages. Oh, sorry. My name is Erica Capone, and I'm the Director of Religious Education here at UUCSR. It is so wonderful to be here in 2021 with all of you. This month, the children and the youth of RE will be delving into the theme of imagination as they explore magical worlds, picture brighter futures, and let their imaginations run wild. This morning, the kids use their imaginations to picture their future selves. Oftentimes when we ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up? The question is inevitably self-serving. As grown-ups, we have spent years cultivating a neat, sensible worldview that desperately asks us to promptly deal with any facet of uncertainty that makes its way into our brains. In fact, at the end of the story today, I ended it by asking the kids what they wanted to be when they grew up because it served me. And as tidy and sensible as adults are, children are twice as messy and enigmatic. The world is theirs to explore, which they do so rapaciously, unencumbered by the hows and whys that plague us during adulthood. Their imagination is an extension of themselves, reaching out into the physical world through their play and their problem solving, pulling them towards countless new opportunities and experiences. It is one of the most beautiful and inspiring things to watch, and at the same time, absolutely terrifying. Uncertainty is difficult for many of us, especially when it comes to children, and it is hard not to intervene in this exploration. For those of you who are parents or have just worked or been around children, you know the paradox I speak of. There is a need to let a child grow up to become whoever they want to be, and at the same time, a need to make sure they grow up to be safe. It's a balancing act, and one that decades of parenting books have yet to still resolve. However, there is one book that I believe toes this line better than most. That book is Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Through silly rhymes, Seuss somehow manages to give adults and kids the advice they need to face an uncertain and changing world while never being prescriptive. Even now, as an adult, I turn to it in difficult times or these liminal spaces as we switch to a new year through January. I hope that today it offers you something as well. Without further ado, I'm going to share with you our reading of Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own and you know what you know, and you are the person who will decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not so good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen and frequently do to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew, just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang. You'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then that you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite, or go around back and sneak in from behind? Ugh, simple, it's not. I'm afraid you will find for a mind maker upper to make up their mind. You can get so confused that you'll start into race down long-wheeled roads at a breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdest wild space, headed I fear toward a most useless place, the waiting place. For people, just waiting for a train to go or a bus to come or a plane to go or the mail to come or the rain to go or the phone to ring or the snow to snow or waiting around for a yes or a no or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite or waiting for the wind to fly a kite or waiting around for Friday night or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake or a pot to boil or a better break or a string of pearls or a pair of pants or a wig with curls or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. With banner flip-flapping once more, you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky, ready because you're that kind of a person. Oh, the places you'll go. There is fun to be done. There are points to be scored. There are games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be famous as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too, games you can't win because you'll play against you. All alone. Whether you like it or not, alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though the enemies prowl. On you will go, though the hack and cracks howl. Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. So, be your name Buxbaum or Bixby or Bray or Mordecai Alley Van Allen O'Shea or Rory or Elena or Kaya or Marcus or Jake or Jasper or Jonah or Dylan or Brenna or Dylan or Xavier or Owen or Henry or Elsa or also Dylan. Today, you're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So, get on your way. Oh, I love that story so much because it lets me know that even though things will be hard, you can be anything you want when you grow up. I was wondering, if you're able to, could you guys unmute and all at the same time share what you would like to be when you grow up, whatever that may be? Maybe it's a job, maybe it's a type of person. Maybe you don't know. That's a great thing. All right, ready? On the count of 3, we're going to unmute and say something that we'd like to be. It could be a job, a type of person, something you do. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I don't know.
Oh my
Video game
goodness.
I'm gonna be an artist.
An artist. Well, thank you everyone for sharing, and thank you for listening to that story. Well, thank you everyone for joining me in that story. It is truly one of my favorites, and hearing all the desires of being a video game tester or not knowing was just such a wonderful way to ring in the new year. And with that, let's go in our unison affirmation. We are Unitarian Universalists, people of the open minds, the loving hearts, and the helping hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Era, for taking such good care of our kids and sharing that with us every week. I love the life that brings to us. Another program of the congregation that is continuing through these trying times, in addition to our religious education for both children and adults, is our Saturday breakfast. And so today I'd like to ask everybody who is able to make a financial contribution to the breakfast for our morning Share the Basket as we take our offering. Twice a month, we're making sure that the breakfast stays well and fully funded, since we pretty much have to purchase everything in order to make these to-go meals that we're providing to people on Saturday mornings. So while we listen to some music and maybe even sing along, be a good opportunity to write a check or visit our website and find a way to make a donation. Everything we collect this morning will go to the Saturday breakfast. And I thank you for your continuing generous support of our community in a wide variety of ways. We are doing it together. All right, let's listen to some music and let our generous hearts open.
I'm standing in the hallway, looking at the doors, wondering which one I should open, what I'm waiting for. The future's here before me, the past is closed behind, and I don't know which way to turn or what I hope to find, so I'm just waiting, waiting in between. I'm standing at the window, staring at the sky, watching the horizon, wondering which way I should fly. How do the winter birds know where to go and when it's time, when I can't hear my own heartbeat for the noise inside my mind, while I'm waiting, waiting in between. Every day's a brand new question, another river yet to cross, hoping for the courage to stay just a little lost. We're standing at the crossroads where we've been and yet to go, when prayers seem unanswered and questions hover low. A story's found an ending, but the new one's not begun. The truth is in the silence before the song is sung, while we're waiting, waiting in between. We're waiting, waiting in between.
We are very much living in between space these days. And one great technique for learning how to be as comfortable and free and responsive in times of uncertainty is the practice of being still with ourselves in meditation, silence, contemplation, however you want to describe it. So I'm going to invite us now with a few words that I'll share then to just be in silence together, making space in heart and mind for life as it is, ourselves as we are, each other as we are, and trying to sit in a place of love and acceptance of all of that, knowing we are loved and accepted. So I'm going to ring the bells and read the words of a loving kindness meditation that someone sent me as part of the milestones that I sought from everyone that they've been using, a member of our community. So let us be still together. May all beings have a quiet mind and an open heart. May all beings have good health and well-being. May all beings know the joy of unconditional self-love. All beings love and know the sadness and grief of separation. May all beings know that this continual ache of the heart is a blessing. It unites us all. May all beings be liberated from fear, greed, delusion, and anger. Although all beings are impermanent and imperfect, may all beings have the ease of being rooted in kindness and compassion. And may all beings know who and what they are: infinite, eternal light and love.
2020 was the year that I finally settled into Sonoma County. I was one of 5 children in an Air Force family, so I was used to moving around and to the idea that everything is temporary. I moved to Sonoma County from Texas with my parents and siblings in 1975 and did my junior and senior years at Montgomery High School. As an 18-year-old graduate in 1977, I couldn't wait to get out of Santa Rosa and go to college. And so I did. I didn't return full-time to Sonoma County for another 15 years. By then, I had completed my education, lived in other states, begun my professional life, and right before returning here, I had spent 4 years living in France, where I met my wife. So in 1992, I returned to Sonoma County, to Santa Rosa, with my wife and our then 1-month-old son. Even then, though, I thought that the move to the county to be near my parents and other family and to set up shop in the United States was in some sense provisional. I might be leaving soon. I indulged in much the same thinking this past year. When we went through another round of wildfires and thunderstorms, began to run through scenarios. We could escape the natural disasters by moving back to France or to Texas or near my sister in Wisconsin. When I read about the first presidential debate, I wasn't able to bring myself to watch it. I clutched my Irish passport more tightly and wondered whether life and politics in Europe might be better than here. When I read in the Press Democrat that we had 600 new COVID cases in one day, I looked at the procedures for getting treatment or getting vaccinated in France. And 2020 delivered reminders of my mortality with the deaths of a friend of 10 years, a former girlfriend, a classmate from university. But I also saw in 2020 the power of doing something each day, right where you are. I donated to the Sonoma Land Trust and read about work they are doing on climate change and on preparations for wildfires. I did some phone banking for the election. I turned off the news alerts on my cell phone. For the pandemic, I continued to take reasonable precautions, wearing a mask, social distancing, washing hands, Zoom meetings for my family for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I participated in plans for the congregation services by Zoom. I had my daughter take a COVID test and an antibody test before coming home for the holidays. And I survived 2020. My family survived. We as a congregation survived. We did it by helping each other in loving community. I still worry some about the future, but this is where I live.
And here we are again with the turning of the year. This wonderful conjunction of our arbitrary calendar and the actual solstice, the actual re-emergence of spring and new life in the world that gives us an annual, wonderful, cosmic, seasonal do-over. An unplug it and plug it back in, at least in here. And yes, it's arbitrary. Everything going on January 1st was pretty much the same as everything that was happening on December 31st. But there's something about these arbitrary moments of hitting the reset button. Some years ago, by way of example, I played on a softball team that is known to some members of this congregation who live at Frog Song co-housing community. Our team was the unfortunately named Kotati Croakers. For Frog Song, don't you know, but it aptly described the way we pretty much rolled over and died game after game after game. And after, losing by, say, 28-6 or 23-1, or, and I wish I were exaggerating, 35-0. It was good to at least know that although the overall trend of life was likely to continue just the way it had been, it was still a new game. There was still, at least for the top of the first inning, some hope that maybe things would be a little different. And we get to do that again now. And it matters. It matters. Worst year ever, as they're saying? Nah, believe it or not, no. We could start naming lists. 1918, 1939. How about like all of the 700s and 800s? Rough years. This might have been the worst year ever for some of us. But that's always true too. What it was, as it always is, was all at once. A year that profoundly and intensely demonstrated the all-at-onceness of life. Just one example from the Milestones folks sent in, Susan Pantea. In 1 year, her mother died. She retired from her geology career. She celebrated her 25th wedding anniversary. And she began her internship en route to her new career as a Unitarian Universalist minister, albeit all virtual, down at the UU Church of the Monterey Peninsula. It's been that kind of year, it seems, for all of us. And when you look back, it is incredible how much actually happened in a year where the story we tell is that none of us did anything. Because it was so easy to narrow our vision just into our own backyard. Even a news junkie like myself almost forgot when I read those annual review of the year articles that there were pro-democracy demonstrations in Hong Kong, or that Brexit finally came to pass, because so much of the time just seemed to be about wearing masks and being muted, as we were forced to be apart from one another for the milestone that surely this year will be most remembered for, this awful pandemic and the coronavirus. And as of this moment, almost 350,000 folks here in our own country who have died from it. And these were the most heart-wrenching milestones. And we all have them here, folks. Family, brothers, sisters, close friends, lost. Mothers and grandchildren and children catching it. Worries about those we love, particularly aging parents who are perhaps in a facility that is at greater risk. That's an anxiety that many in our number here had to carry all year long, and some of us even actually had it. Pat had it way back at the beginning. Michael and his husband Bill both came down with it just a month or so ago, Beth and Brian. And of course, most painfully of all, Tess and Bill Hageman, dear members of our congregation who both contracted it and died on the same day. Thank God, in each other's presence in the hospital from that stupid, awful disease. There were other deaths in our community this year, of course, and not all of them COVID related. We said goodbye to Bob Barrows and Bob Clement, Sandy Bandy, Phil Harriman and Karen Lillard. We said goodbye to partners, Judy to her partner of 26 years, Marie this year. All of us lost people. One friend sent in that they had lost 9 close friends. I myself lost 3 mentors. Reverend Thomas Michelson, who was the minister at First Parish in Cambridge when I was going to divinity school and who taught me so much about preaching in particular. And a couple other great UU minister colleagues who died this year. Many of us had to say goodbye to pets of decades-long acquaintance, which is always awful. And boy, you look at the list of all the folks who departed just from the wide world. Alex Trebek, are you kidding me? Bill Withers, Don Gibson, Kobe Bryant, that was this year. John Lewis, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, there's 100 names. Most significantly, perhaps the most important deaths this year, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, martyrs we might call them, for the fact that 100 years from now, the emergence of a true movement for racial justice in this country that's lasting and sweeping the nation might be remembered even more than the pandemic. May it be so. This was a milestone many people marveled at. Marveled was the word. Marveled that anti-racism became mainstream for white people after years of seeing it dismissed as a side issue. Someone else said, my most deeply held hope for 2021 is that relations between law enforcement and the Black community continue to improve. You know, may it be so. They said, I hope there are no, or is that too idealistic? No, or at least many fewer unjustified killings of Black people. And if it does happen, it will get mass coverage in the news, and white people will continue to heighten their sensitivity to racial bias. That bursting forth of the longing for justice, many of you mentioned repeatedly, a thing that actually you don't want to see go away with the passing of the year. Our collective outrage at the social injustice in this country based on skin color. Our collective outrage seeing the economic disadvantages that people have based on where they live. And our collective outrage at the money that controls our government and our environment. Yeah, I want those things to carry through too. And if that's what can come, though we had to pay the price of having to hide our smiles and missing each other so badly this year, of enduring fear and isolation and loneliness, the challenges of trying to work from home, the challenges of trying to educate our children this year. There is not a parent or child in this congregation who will forget this year, as we struggled to find a way to provide them what they need and struggled against what I think is this ridiculous notion that we have to be afraid of leaving them behind. In a functioning country, the lesson of this year, the sole lesson would solely have been, hey kids, here's how we all work together to deal with a national disaster as cooperatively and intelligently as possible. That's what might happen in a functioning country. I don't have to tell you how much 2020 revealed that we don't. Though there's lots of hope. Lots of hope in this number in particular, that come January 20th, the dysfunction and the divisiveness of the past 4 years will start to dissipate, your words, and the United States can take back its moral center. Some people used very strong language to express their disappointment with the government in 2020, and very hopeful language for what's to come. Guys, I've been talking for how many minutes yet, and only now remembering that we had massive wildfires? August through October, 4 different fires 125,000 acres of land, mass evacuations. Some of us had to evacuate twice. The fear and frustration of dealing with that has led many of our members, some of our members, I should say, to move. The McCartys, Cummings and Reed, smiling at me right now. Gwendolyn Welch, Rachel Wayless moved. Lots to deal with. Not every health issue was COVID. We've got folks here facing real challenges with cancer, having had loved ones endure terrible injuries, having had major life-changing surgeries. A lot of hips and knees and shoulders were replaced. Some folks are feeling hopeful about being on the other side of that. Richard here, grateful to be a cancer survivor, determined to beat the disease. Deb Mason, who's been enduring her treatment for a whole year, but now, right now, able to look ahead perhaps to a year of far fewer medical interventions. And oh, friends, it really wasn't all bad news. In the middle of everything that was happening around us, like in the most beautiful way, life went on. Grandchildren being born, Owen being born, and his grandma saying, "I'm watching with wonder the beginning of his unsculpted life," when his immediate challenges are only rapid growth and world discovery. Yeah, what a good spirit to bring. Aaron had their son, Bjorn Henrik, born in the middle of the pandemic, long hoped for and awaited, so his birth all the more special. And Linda Harlow, I'm not sure if she's here, saw the birth of her great-granddaughter, Harlow Rose Galassi, on August 9th. Harlow, how about that? And not only our littlest ones, but our kids made it through. There were graduations, there were trips off to college, trips home again from college, trying to do college online. We had weddings this year, same as we ever did. Crazy kids, Bud Willis and Barbara Leahy, are celebrating their 6-month anniversary. June 28th, they got married in their backyard. We've got other weddings already getting planned. In the middle of it all, Sid and Betty celebrated their 70th wedding anniversary. Birthdays, we all had one. But yay! And it was a time, even in the midst of our struggle, for the delights of home. People fixing up the house, finally fixing up the garden, getting a new pet, meeting a half-brother who did not even knew that you had a half-brother. Judy took a 23andMe DNA test and a name came up who turned out to be a half-brother. And they met and got to know each other's new families. We've got the same sorts of transitions this year as any other, with Elizabeth and Andy and Mary, who won a Heroes Award, all retiring this year. Jan Prater too. Folks published books. The thing that came through again and again was this determination to make the best of things, to count the blessings of not getting sick, to affirm the good of needing to just stay home with the people you love the most if you're fortunate enough to have them in the house with you, grandnieces visiting and others. Embracing technologies that have allowed us to connect, really valuing community. I certainly felt that this year, the way we have all been able to work together, to keep our congregation going. Someone noted we did not miss a single Sunday service through the whole pandemic, even back at the very beginning with Reverend Dara and Reverend Bonnie and all the amazing folks who have been enabling us to be together again. And one person said, I guess I'll acknowledge my main milestone, our minister had open heart surgery and then came back healed and with a commitment to health. And she said, I think this is an especially important milestone for all of us old timers who lived through Dan O'Neill's death in 1998. I'm happy to provide that milestone for you. We didn't just sit by as a community. We delivered thousands of masks to people who needed them at the beginning of the pandemic. We sent 6,000 postcards to disenfranchised voters to try and help get His Majesty out of office this year. Our lay chaplains rose to the occasion with calls and gifts. It has been a remarkable year. And the spirit of looking ahead and being hopeful and believing we can take advantage of this cosmic do-over is alive and well in each of you. We are ready to see each other again, yes, and we really, I will say, want to travel somewhere. But most of our hopes are for good health and for the vaccinations to go as quickly and efficiently as possible, to continue to cultivate authenticity in relationships and be loving and healing presences in the world, to see the pandemic finally end and people find true peace on earth with all treated with compassion and respect. A hope, I'm quoting, that we truly have learned from this horrible pandemic on how to help each other and evolve on a loving path to our highest good. May it be so. May people have hoped that businesses will continue to allow people to work from home, thereby reducing our impact on the climate. High hopes for immigrants and undocumented people with a new administration. High hopes that our American democracy will hold. I want to close with Beth's words, who said, "I'm frightened by folks saying that they want to close the door on 2020. There were too many important lessons learned, felt, and accepted this year. Don't close your eyes now. 2021 is the year we start to work again to right the wrongs we have seen and acknowledged. Nothing has changed other than our understanding. Rest today, breathe deep, and love your family, born or chosen. But we need to find the strength to work on becoming a better nation for all our people, to create a better world for ourselves and our children's children. 2020 was the labor. A new consciousness was born. Now we need to raise the child." Yeah, may it be so. And may, as Randy said on Facebook, in 2021, may Corona again be only a beer and Donald just a duck. Reading your milestones affirms my faith in humanity and our community once again, and my belief that at any point, the rivers can change direction, things get better, and that we can continue to find one another across the Great Divide. We are going to make it through, friends. Happy New Year. And we give thanks for the sharing of these milestones, for how they remind us of our shared humanity and our common fate, and inspire our compassion and care. May all our joys be magnified as we delight together in the good news. May all our sorrows be eased as we carry them together in community. May you who are searching for courage, comfort, faith, and hope find what you seek. And may all people grow in wisdom, compassion, and love, that the whole world might live with justice and in peace. Amen. And let's sing.
I've been walking in my sleep, counting trouble instead of counting sheep. Where the years went, I can't say. I just turned around and they're gone away. Well, I've been sifting through the layers of dusty books and faded papers to tell the story I used to know. It was one that happened so long ago. It's gone away in yesterday. Now I find myself on the mountainside. direction across the great divide. Now I heard an owl calling softly as the night was falling with a question, and I replied, but he's gone across the borderline. It's gone away in yesterday. Now I find myself on the mountainside, where the rivers change direction across the great divide. Finest hour that I have seen is the one that comes between the edge of night and the break of day. It's when the darkness rolls away. It's gone away in yesterday, and I find myself on the mountainside, where the rivers change direction across the great divide. Well, it's gone away in yesterday, and I find myself on the mountainside, where the rivers change direction across the great divide.
Our closing words are from Larry Robinson, A New Year's Blessing. Unhurried mornings greeted with gratitude. Good work for the hand, the heart, and the mind. The smile of a friend, the laughter of children. Kind words from a neighbor. A home dry and warm. Food on the table with a place for the stranger. A glimpse of the mystery behind every breath. Some time of ease in the arms of your lover. Then sleep with a prayer of thanks on your lips. May all this and more be yours this year and every year after, to the end of your days.